Hello, how are you? We are back in my kitchen today, and today I'm making sourdough biscotti. These are delicious, and I first found these from Lisa on Farmhouse on Boone's blog. They are so yummy. She puts a little bit more sugar in hers than I put in mine. I've just reduced it down a little bit because I felt like they were too sweet, and she puts chocolate on the outside of hers, and I just don't think they need it. Although I have tried it with chocolate chips in, and that was pretty good as well. And I've also swapped out the almond essence later on for orange essence and made them sort of orange flavour, and that was delicious as well. So you can mix it up however you want. So we've got a quarter cup of olive oil in the bowl, and then we've added about a cup of brown sugar. She says 1 1/3 cups packed, but for me it's just a little bit sweet. So I've put in just a smidge less. And then we're putting them into my stand mixer, who, if you've been here for a while, you will know is called Mary Berry, and she is my best friend. So Mary Berry is now going to mix that up for us, and we're going to add in 2 eggs. I don't know if you can kind of see me trying to slip them in at the side without having to turn her off. And then we're going to add in roughly a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, but frankly, who has the time to measure? So we're just going to pour stuff. And then 1 tablespoon of almond extract, but I buy these little bottles of almond extract you can get in Tesco's. So I just put in a half because who can be bothered measuring? Not me. And this is a sourdough discard recipe. So it calls for a half cup of sourdough starter or sourdough discard. And I've made it with less than that. I've made it with more than that. It's delicious. And the amount of starter that I seem to put in, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to it. You can just kind of titrate it by adding a little bit more flour. If you need to, if it's a bit too wet to be working with, or I put the flour in slowly while it's and try and mix around it so that you can kind of calibrate. It's one of these recipes, once you've made it once, you kind of get a feel for it, but the first time you make it, you're like, what on earth am I making? So anyway, we've got the starter in. We're adding some flour now. The recipe says 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I am using plain flour because that's what we call all-purpose in the UK, because we are fancy and we like to use different words for things just to make life complicated. And then the recipe says 3/4 teaspoon of sea salt. I leave that out because I work in healthcare, and wherever I can I try to avoid adding salt to food because it's better for you if you don't have it. Some recipes you really do need it. This one I don't think you actually do. And then 1 cup of raw whole almonds, but you do need to toast these and chop them a wee bit first. So you kind of toast them in the oven for, like on around 180 for like 10 to 15 minutes. Just keep an eye on them so that they don't go too toasted and then, a little bit bitter. And then once they've cooled, roughly chop them. So I tend, because I make this recipe on repeat, I tend to batch my almonds. So probably about a month ago, I batched a load of almonds and chopped them up, and I keep them in a bag, and I just add what I need into the mixer. And then once you've got it all together, that's what your dough should look like. So it kind of looks and feels like a very sticky Play-Doh. If you've got little kids, you get what I mean. And then you want to pat it out into big long fat sausages and stick it on a tray. I've got a lovely glass Pyrex tray because it's what I've got. And I've covered it with some parchment paper because that's what was in the cupboard. And I've made 2 long fat sausages. They're quite rustic. They don't need to be perfect because they just will not be, because it is such a sticky dough. And the next thing you've got to do is to stick this bad boy in the fridge for half an hour. And he does need to chill. I have also done this recipe and left it in the fridge for like 20 hours because I got distracted and forgot about them, and they work just as well. So it's a dough you can kind of make and prepare in advance. Anyway, then we are going to stick them in the oven. They go on about 180 degrees C for about half an hour, and then take them out and let them cool. They do need to be cool before you start trying to chop them up, otherwise they will just smush. Take it from somebody who loves to cut corners. Don't try and cut that corner. They do have to cool. And you can see some of them in the middle are still smushing apart, but we just try and stick them back together and hope for the best. So you want to cut them into little chunks. I like to say no more than an inch, but more than a centimetre. And just, go with the flow. See what floats your boat. The thinner they are, the crispier you can get them in the oven, and the thicker, the kind of softer in the middle they'll be. So traditional biscotti is like rock solid, you know, and you have to dip it in your coffee to make it soft enough to actually bite into without breaking your teeth. But because we're making these, you can make them as hard or as soft as you want. So if you want it slightly softer, you can make it a bit softer. My husband likes them a bit softer and I like them a bit harder. And guess what? I'm cooking, so I'm making them the way I like them. Once you have chopped them up, you just lay them flat on the tray. And then you're going to stick them back in the oven. And I do 17 minutes at 160 degrees. Take them out, turn them over because we've got to dry out the other side. And then put them back in, still on 160 degrees Celsius for another 17 minutes. And they come out perfectly. But you'll need to adjust that for your oven. Some ovens have hot spots. Some ovens are, you know, just a bit cooler, and I don't know, whatever. You've got to figure it out for your oven. But they are delicious. And my husband and both of my sons really enjoy them. I cannot keep them in stock because they are eaten as soon as they are made. My daughter's not a mad fan of them, but she's a bit more of a fussy sausage, so I've yet to find her favourite biscuit. But I keep trying. And when I do, I'll let you know. Thanks. Bye.